Sometimes the earliest warnings about your health don't come in the form of pain or loud symptoms. They come at night, quietly, almost politely. A restless sleep, a strange chill, a racing heart that wakes you up at 2 a.m. For seniors over 65, especially in the US and Europe, these subtle changes during sleep aren't just part of growing older. According to geriatric health experts, they could be early indicators that your body is aging faster than it should. In this episode of Elderly Reflections, we'll explore 4 silent sleep clues, overlooked by many, that could signal underlying problems with your heart, lungs, metabolism, or nervous system. Each clue will be supported by real-life stories from seniors, trusted medical research, and timeless life lessons from the elderly. Sleep is often seen as a time for rest, but in truth, it's when the body reveals some of its most honest secret. Understanding these clues early can help you protect your independence, boost your longevity, and reclaim peaceful nights. If you find value in elderly wisdom, motivation, and practical senior health insights, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell to stay connected with our content. It usually starts off as something small: a damp pillow, sheets that feel slightly sticky. You wake up in the middle of the night, confused, uncomfortable, maybe even chilled from your own sweat. You shift, turn over, and try to sleep again, but it keeps happening. For seniors after 65, especially in the US and Europe, this isn't just about an extra blanket or a warm room. Persistent night sweats are one of the most commonly overlooked signs that the body may be aging faster than it should. Elderly health experts have been warning about it for decades, but many people still dismiss these episodes as just getting older. But they're wrong. According to the National Institute on Aging and several peer-reviewed journals on geriatric medicine, consistent night sweats can be tied to more serious issues that the body is trying to flag quietly, without causing immediate pain or visible symptoms. Let's understand what really happens. As we age, our hypothalamus, the part of the brain that regulates body temperature, starts to become more sensitive. Slight shifts in hormone levels, stress, or even metabolic activity can throw it off balance. For seniors, this means that while sleeping, the body may misinterpret minor internal signals as overheating, triggering a sweat response. But the deeper question is, why is your body overheating at all while it's supposed to be resting? Doctors often point to 5 main culprits. First, hidden infections. Seniors are more vulnerable to low-growth chronic infections such as urinary tract infections, sinus issues, or even dental abscesses. These often don't show obvious symptoms like fever or pain, but the body still responds internally, producing cytokines that stimulate heat and result in sweating. Second, blood sugar instability. For seniors living with diabetes or even prediabetes, a sudden drop in blood sugar during the night, known as nocturnal hypoglycemia, can lead to sweating, tremors, and confusion upon waking. In fact, many seniors with type 2 diabetes don't realize they're experiencing silent hypoglycemia until they start waking, soaked, dizzy, or with a pounding heart. Third, endocrine disorders, especially thyroid issues. Both hyperthyroidism and hypothyroidism are increasingly common in people over 65. And both can mess with the body's internal temperature regulation, making night sweats a regular event. Fourth, certain medications. You'd be surprised how many prescriptions list night sweats as a side effect, especially antidepressants, steroids, hormone therapy, and even some over-the-counter painkillers like aspirin. Finally, and perhaps most seriously, night sweats can be an early warning sign of cancer, particularly lymphomas and leukemias. In such cases, the sweats are usually accompanied by other changes like unexplained weight loss, fatigue, or swollen lymph nodes. But the sweating often comes first. Now let's talk about Walter B.A., retired train engineer from Ohio, age 72, healthy most of his life, strong, independent, never the type to complain. He and his wife Margaret had been married nearly 50 years. Walter began waking up soaked a few nights in a row. He blamed the weather. Margaret opened the windows. It didn't help. The sweating got worse. Sometimes he had to change shirts at 2 a.m. He didn't mention it to his daughter until his daughter insisted during a family dinner. One blood test later, and Walter's story changed entirely. His doctor suspected something more and ordered a PET scan. It turned out to be early-stage non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Because it was caught so early, Walter began treatment while still strong, with a better prognosis than most patients his age. He's now 78, still gardening, still driving. But he never forgets that it all started with night sweats. My body was whispering, he said in a community talk, and I finally decided to listen. What makes stories like Walter's even more important is that many seniors experience these signs but dismiss them out of pride, fear, or simply not wanting to be a burden. Margaret recalled that during those early nights, Walter would walk the hall quietly, not wanting to wake her. He looked lost, she said, like he was trying to solve a puzzle his body was hiding from him. That emotional toll is something not often discussed in medical literature, but very real for those living through it. The feeling of waking drenched, disoriented, and alone can be more damaging to emotional well-being than the symptom itself. Seniors often describe it as a mix of panic and shame, like their body is betraying them silently in the dark. But night sweats don't always mean cancer. Let's not jump to fear. Many cases are treatable or manageable once properly identified. One major culprit often missed is sleep apnea. It's more common in men, especially over 65, and it doesn't always show up as loud snoring. In many elderly patients, it shows up as shallow breathing, short pauses in breath, followed by a spike in adrenaline and a sweat response. Gerianne Martino, a geriatric sleep specialist in Seattle, explains, when oxygen drops during sleep, the brain sends a panic signal. Heart rate rises, cortisol spikes, and the body starts sweating. Most people wake up and just think they had a strange dream, or it's just age, but this is the body trying to survive a stress event. This is why tracking night sweat, how often they occur, how intense they are, whether they follow certain meals or medications, can help detect patterns, and patterns, as many in elderly reflections have shared, are often the difference between catching a warning sign early or missing it completely. Here's what to look out for if you or a loved one over 65 is experiencing night sweats. Is the sweating intense enough to wake you up? Are you changing clothes or bed sheets more than once a week because of it? Are there other symptoms accompanying it, like weight loss, fatigue, or brain fog? Are there new medications in your routine? Do you experience shaking, confusion, or hunger when you wake? These are not just details, they're data your body is giving you. You don't need a medical degree to recognize that something's off. You just need to be willing to notice, record, and take it seriously. There's also the emotional aspect we can't overlook. Seniors who deal with night sweats often report higher levels of sleep disturbance, anxiety, and even feelings of isolation. They avoid sleepovers with grandchildren. They stop traveling. They become more withdrawn, all because they fear the embarrassment of waking up wet. But let me be clear, this is not something to be ashamed of. In Elderly Reflections, we've interviewed countless seniors who turn their health around just by choosing to talk about what's happening at night. Sometimes that conversation begins not with a doctor, but with a spouse, a friend, or even a journal entry. There's one more story I want to share. Marina, age 69, from Italy. Marina had never struggled with sleep in her life, but during the winter after her retirement, she began waking up soaked, chilled, groggy, and frustrated. She blamed menopause at first, but it had been nearly 2 decades since that ended. Her doctor eventually discovered she had a low-grade infection in her jawbone, left over from an untreated root canal years earlier. Her immune system had been quietly battling it, raising her body temperature at night. After dental surgery and a short antibiotic course, the night sweats stopped completely. Marina now volunteers at a local senior health center and often shares her story during community talks. If I had kept ignoring it, she says, who knows how much longer my body would have carried that weight for me. So what's the takeaway? Night sweats are not just a sleep issue. They are a signal, a clue, a whisper from your body that something inside is out of balance. And while the cause might be mild or serious, the importance is the same. Pay attention. In elderly health, prevention is often more powerful than cure. In Elderly Reflections, we believe in listening not just to doctors, but to your own body and to the shared stories of those who have lived through it and come out wiser. The body doesn't age in silence. It speaks, and it often speaks when the world is asleep. Not all signs of aging arrive with pain. Some arrive in silence, in the dark, measured in breaths. And sometimes it's not until a spouse, a caregiver, or even a pet notices something's off with the way you breathe at night that the warning becomes clear. Irregular breathing during sleep isn't just about snoring. It's about moments when your breath catches, pauses, speeds up, slows down. It's about the rhythm that no longer feels steady. For seniors over 65, especially those living alone, these changes often go unnoticed for months, even years, until the body begins to struggle in the daylight. But the clues were always there. Breathing isn't just air, it's communication between your lungs, your heart, and your brain. When that conversation begins to break down during sleep, your body is no longer resting, it's surviving, and that's where the danger begins. Medical experts refer to one of the most common forms of irregular sleep breathing as sleep apnea, specifically obstructive sleep apnea, OSA. According to the American Academy of Sleep Medicine, nearly 70% of adults over 65 show signs of sleep-disordered breathing, and many are undiagnosed. Sometimes it's Cheyne-Stokes respiration, a pattern of deep, rapid breathing followed by pauses, commonly seen in people with heart failure or neurological decline. In any form, these nighttime disruptions interfere with oxygen intake, and when oxygen drops, everything from heart rate to memory, from balance to immune function, is affected. What may feel like simple fatigue the next day might actually be the result of dozens, sometimes hundreds of micro-awakenings caused by low oxygen levels during the night. Let's go deeper. As we age, the elasticity in the lungs decreases. The diaphragm weakens. The neural signals that regulate involuntary functions, including breath, become less responsive. For seniors, this means shallow breathing becomes more common. The muscles responsible for keeping the airway open can also weaken, causing brief collapses in the throat that block airflow, even if the person never snores. Combine this with medications like sedatives or opioids, commonly prescribed in elder care, and the brain's drive to breathe can be dulled even further. Geriatric pulmonologists often warn that even a 2% drop in nighttime oxygen saturation can raise the risk of stroke, cognitive decline, and cardiac stress over time. But the real challenge is awareness. Many seniors don't even realize their breathing is irregular. They may feel tired in the morning, groggy by mid-afternoon, or emotionally foggy, but rarely connect these feelings with what's happening during sleep. That's where observation becomes critical, and stories like George's make all the difference. George was 75 when his wife Linda began to notice something strange. George had always been an early riser, alert, full of energy, but lately he seemed slower in the mornings. Distracted, forgetful, and easily winded even after a full night's sleep. Linda started sleeping later than him, and once during an early morning trip to the bathroom, she paused by the bedroom door. George wasn't snoring, he wasn't breathing at all. Then suddenly gasp, a loud inhale, then silence again, then a sputter. That night, Linda sat in bed and watched. The same thing happened over and over again. Worried, she recorded it on her phone and showed their doctor the next day. A sleep study was ordered. The results were shocking. George was experiencing over 30 apnea episodes per hour, severe sleep apnea. His oxygen levels had been dropping into dangerous territory multiple times each night. The doctor said, bluntly, his heart and brain are fighting to function through the night. George had no idea. He thought he was just aging. What happened next changed everything. George was fitted for a CPAP machine, continuous positive airway pressure, which keeps the airway open with a gentle stream of air. It took time to adjust, but within 2 weeks his morning headaches vanished. His memory improved. Linda noticed that he laughed more, talked more, and even resumed his daily crossword puzzle habit. "I got my husband back," she said. George later shared at a senior center meeting, "I thought I was just getting old, but I was actually suffocating in my sleep." Breathing irregularities during sleep don't always present as dramatic. Sometimes the symptoms are subtle. Dry mouth in the morning, waking up with a racing heart, feeling like you've been in a fight even after 8 hours in bed. Seniors often describe these nights as restless or empty. Their dreams become fragmented, their emotions dull. The truth is, the body can only begin to heal, detox, and restore during deep sleep, and if breathing is interrupted, that healing never completes. Over time, this creates what geriatricians call sleep debt, which increases the risk of falls, confusion, and even early onset dementia. One of the clearest studies on this comes from the Sleep Heart Health Study, which tracked thousands of seniors over a decade. It found that those with undiagnosed sleep apnea had a 58% higher risk of developing cognitive decline and a 70% increased chance of developing heart arrhythmias. What's more, their bodies aged biologically faster than those without sleep disruption. This means that irregular breathing isn't just a symptom of aging. It may actually accelerate the aging process itself. And yet, it is still one of the most overlooked factors in senior health evaluations. Let's turn to another story, this time from Sweden. Ingrid, age 82, had been waking up with sudden coughs. Not every night, but often enough to worry her daughter Anna. Ingrid brushed it off as dry winter air. But Anna noticed something else. When she sat with her mother during nap time, she heard long pauses in breathing, followed by quick, shallow gasps. She brought it up during a routine cardiology checkup, and the doctor thankfully took it seriously. Ingrid was diagnosed not with apnea, but with diastolic heart failure, a condition where the heart struggles to relax and fill properly. The body tries to compensate by overworking during sleep, causing changes in breathing patterns. With medication adjustments and new monitoring, Ingrid's breathing stabilized and her daytime fatigue slowly improved. She now takes daily walks again, with her portable oxygen monitor as a reminder that the night always tells the truth, even when the day tries to hide it. So what should seniors and caregivers look out for? Sudden or frequent awakenings with gasping or choking sensations, waking up with a dry mouth or sore throat, morning headaches or dizziness, feeling excessively tired despite sleeping through the night, loud or irregular snoring, especially if followed by silence, shortness of breath when lying flat, restless sleep with frequent changes. If any of these are present, a sleep study, either at home or in a lab, can be life-changing. Today, many modern sleep assessments can be done in the comfort of one's own bed, using wearable monitors and oxygen trackers that sync with mobile apps. These tools are now covered by most insurance programs for seniors and are often the first step toward reclaiming both rest and health. Now, finally, let's speak to something deeper: the emotional reality. Seniors who suffer from irregular breathing at night often feel a growing distance from themselves. Their thoughts feel slower, their mood shifts. They withdraw not because they want to, but when his sleep and breathing were finally addressed, that fog lifted. He began painting again. He wrote postcards to his grandchildren. His laughter returned. And all it took was noticing that his breath was no longer a lullaby, but a quiet cry for help. As we grow older, sleep becomes more than just a time to rest. It becomes a mirror, a quiet place where the body whispers truths that daylight tries to hide. While we often talk about pain or fatigue as signs of aging, there are two more silent signals that show up in the night, often dismissed as normal, but in truth, they are anything but. Let me walk you through them now. Two of the most overlooked patterns in the way older bodies sleep, and the stories behind what they may really mean. Well, let's begin with something many seniors brush off as a routine: nuisance. Waking up multiple times each night to use the bathroom. For people over 65, especially men, getting up once or twice seems understandable. But when it starts happening 3 or 4 times, night after night, it's time to start asking why. What most don't realize is that this frequent urination at night, known medically as nocturia, is not just a side effect of age. It can be your heart, your kidneys, your hormones, or your blood sugar trying to get your attention. According to the Mayo Clinic, over 70% of people above 70 experience this issue. But too often, no one thinks to dig deeper. That was the case for Dieter, a retired furniture craftsman from southern Germany. He was 76 when he noticed his sleep had become fragmented into 2-hour blocks. "I kept waking up," he said, "first at midnight, then again at 2:30, then around 4. Each time to use the toilet. I thought it was just age, but after a minor fall in the hallway, his daughter insisted on a medical check. The diagnosis surprised him: early-stage heart failure. His heart wasn't pumping efficiently, causing fluid buildup during the day. When he lay down at night, the fluid shifted back into circulation, and the kidneys did what they were designed to do: flush it out. The nightly bathroom trips were his body's way of waving a flag. Once his doctor adjusted his medications and gave him instructions to elevate his legs in the afternoon, Dieter's sleep improved drastically. "I started dreaming again," he told his doctor. "I hadn't had a dream in months." Of course, nocturia isn't only caused by heart issues. In women, the decline in estrogen levels after menopause can affect bladder control. In both men and women, blood sugar problems, especially undiagnosed diabetes, can cause the body to flush out glucose through frequent urination. Some medications taken late in the day, like diuretics or even supplements, can also be culprits. And then there's the ripple effect. When your sleep is interrupted every few hours, you lose the chance to reach those deep restorative stages that protect your brain, your heart, and your mood. Dr. Helena Torres, a nephrologist in Portugal, once said, "Every time we disrupt the sleep cycle, we're interrupting healing." That's aging in fast forward. It's not about the bathroom, it's about what's happening in the background. Now let's turn to something more physical, something you feel rather than realize. I'm talking about those painful leg cramps that jolt you awake in the dark, or the creeping, crawling sensations in your legs that make you want to move, even when you're exhausted. They're often dismissed with phrases like "Charlie horses" or "just restless legs." But they're more than discomfort. They're a message. Many seniors experience what's called restless leg syndrome, RLS, or periodic limb movement disorder. These conditions affect up to 35% of adults over 65, especially women. And what most don't know is that these conditions are closely linked to deficiencies. Take Mariah, for example. She was a retired school teacher from Minnesota who began describing her nights as living with ants in my legs. Not pain, but pressure. An uncontrollable urge to move her legs every few minutes. At first, doctors thought it was arthritis, but her daughter pushed for a neurological consult. Tests showed Maria had RLS linked to low ferritin and B12 levels. With a few dietary changes, supplements, and by adjusting one of her medications, the sensations reduced significantly. It felt like I'd escaped a trap, she later said. I didn't know how broken my nights were until they became peaceful again. Now, not all leg symptoms are from RLS. Some come from actual cramping, sudden, intense muscle tightening in the calves or feet. These can come from electrolyte imbalances, especially in those taking water pills or blood pressure medications. When potassium, calcium, or magnesium levels drop, muscles misfire. It's also common in seniors who avoid drinking fluids in the evening, hoping to prevent nocturium, but in turn cause dehydration and cramps. In other cases, these cramps are a symptom of poor circulation or narrowing of blood vessels, which is far more serious. One man I interviewed through Elderly Reflections said, "My cramps weren't just pain, they were warnings. Turns out I had blockages in my legs that weren't letting blood flow right." He got treatment just in time. The big issue here is pattern disruption. Every night you wake from a cramp or from leg discomfort is a night where your body didn't reach deep sleep. And deep sleep is where immune repair, memory consolidation, and emotional reset all take place. If you miss this repeatedly, your health slowly declines, sometimes in ways you don't notice until it's too late. You feel foggier, you trip more, you start forgetting simple things, like where you left the keys or whether you took your pills. So how do you take control? Start by tracking. Keep a journal for 7 nights. Note the time you wake, why, and what you are feeling. Are your legs sore? Are you cramping? Are you rushing to the bathroom? Then bring this record to your doctor, ask for test reports, and then make changes slowly. Stretch your legs before bed, avoid caffeine in the late afternoon, hydrate throughout the day instead of all at once in the evening, and talk openly about the problem. Because what's common isn't always harmless, and what's uncomfortable may actually be your body trying to protect you, long before a bigger issue appears. Many of the seniors we've met through Elderly Reflections shared the same realization. Their sleep wasn't just about comfort, it was about survival. When they finally stopped ignoring the discomforts of the night, when they took action, they regained more than sleep. They regained control, clarity, and confidence in their aging journey. So if your nights are loud with warning signs, know this. Your body is trying to help you. You just have to listen. The truth is, aging doesn't always come with a warning siren. Sometimes it knocks gently in the middle of the night. Through sweat on your back, a missed breath, a quiet trip to the bathroom, or a restless leg that won't let you rest. And if we listen, really listen, our body will tell us what it needs. These 4 silent sleep clues are not just symptoms. They're messengers, quiet indicators that something deeper may need care, attention, or change. But here's the good news. When caught early, these clues can lead to real healing. Better sleep, clearer thinking, more energy, more life. The seniors who shared their stories in this video didn't find magic, they found awareness. And with awareness, they found action. If this content helped you reflect on your own health or someone you love, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. For Elderly Reflections, we're building a community grounded in elderly wisdom, life lessons, and gentle inspiration. One story at a time. Now I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from, and have you noticed any of these sleep clues in your own life? Leave a comment below, we read everyone.